beat up on Richfield yesterday in high school baseball, 13-3. Richfield travels to Candy View today for the rubber match. That is sports.
Good. Oh, that's awesome.
You know, it's a great Wednesday. We're a whole 32 degrees. It's going to be a high of 60 degrees.
Oh, don't
Theoretically,
don't
no
try to- don't try to
wind.
change teams here to me.
Beautiful.
I want the storm coming in. By the way, you'll get your wish this weekend. It's supposed to
I know, which is so funny because every weekend or every day during the week, my kids are like, when are we going to plant the garden, Mom? When? Because we can plant cold crops right now, like carrots and lettuces and broccoli and kale and stuff.
No,
But
potatoes.
and
Cold crops.
cold crops. Potatoes are good,
Yeah,
onions
The potatoes
and
like the colder climate. That's
Yep.
Idaho.
to start. And then you could do onions and garlic for your seedlings and stuff.
Onions, I need to plant some onions.
But it depends on if you do like bulbs versus seeds, and then like your growing season changes with, that and too. And some people like planting garlic in the fall so that it has all winter to like develop its root system so that it can actually grow its fruits, during the heat.
I've told you before, one of the best days of my life was when I was told, oh yeah, onions are vegetables, because I can get an onion and just eat it. I can't.
Which is wonderful. I think we talked about that with Ron Gibson, the former Federation president for the state of Utah. Farm Bureau.
That onions were a vegetable.
Yeah, because that means I was getting vegetables.
Yeah, you ate your vegetable. So
Green
regardless,
onions.
but the weather on the weekends has been bad.
Yeah.
And so I haven't been able to plant the garden with the kids. So
Best thing about green
Anyways.
onions, you can eat all
true, very true.
Yeah,
And you
it's
can
true.
put them in broths and stuff. So you can actually take the entire plant and just boil it in water, basically. And then you can take out the onion and have base and do broths that way.
of it. See, here's the thing with me and
There
veggies.
you go.
I hate them cooked.
Oh,
I love raw vegetables. But when you cook them, they get kind of mushy and blue.
and you know what Jesse's really good at making?
What was that?
You need to learn the concept al dente. It's not just for pasta. If you just barely undercook vegetables,
Oh,
they
yeah.
stay crisp. Like for instance, broccoli.
Oh, yeah,
Barely
yeah.
like just cooked enough to where it turns that bright green, but it's still crunchy.
Oh,
So-
yeah, okay, I could do that.
But
Oh,
Jesse's hidden talent in this, and I don't even know if Chantry knows about this, but Jesse makes really good bone broth.
Speaking of bone broth, so I've been thinking about just cleansing it again, maybe every couple months. And I said the other day to my wife, I'm thinking about doing that again, but I'm not going to make the bone broth because it was this whole thing, man. I made it from scratch, I got out the pressure cooker. It was like a 24-hour process.
Yeah, definitely.
And I had never used an old-fashioned pressure cooker before. So I got it way over hot, and I was trying to figure out how to
Finagle with it.
relieve the pressure, and I unscrewed the little knob a little too much, and I had a geyser going off in the kitchen for a good 8 minutes.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh my.
And before your mom left, she said, "Hey, don't make a mess in my kitchen."
Ooh.
And so I'm like, oh man, and it was everywhere.
Luckily we've
Probably 5 years, actually that was 6 years ago. I probably still don't have it all cleaned up. I'm sure there's still areas that I just don't know.
well no, but between now and then we've repainted that kitchen. We've got
New
new covers.
cabinets, that's true, new countertops.
Oh man, the
So,
countertops
anyway,
are incredible.
But her comment was, there's no way, you have to do the bone broth. It's just not the same without you making the bone.
right. I
So-
completely agree.
Was that the
So
last time you did it?
Yeah, no. I got better.
Okay.
I actually got pretty good at making it.
and not
That was the
repressurizing.
first time. I had never used a pressure cooker.
So how long do you go and just do bone broth?
You could do 7 days. You could actually probably do it always. It's healthy. I don't know if you want to do it. Truth is, I don't know the answer to that question, but I think you get all of the nutrients you need from the bone.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a thing going around, like Dana White and a couple others. They did like a 72 hour or something like that kind of a thing.
Yeah. And nothing for 72 hours and then bone broth, I think. Anyway, I'm just trying to, because during the winter, I get up over that 200 mark. And then I start riding my bike again when it starts cooling off and it goes back down. So I just want to maintain it throughout the year.
But the whole pressure cooker thing leads us into our today's discussion.
Actually, it does very good.
Very, very well.
So, I've been in contemplation. So,
that's a really big word for a Wednesday. We've been on our thinkers today.
Well, here's what happens. And I think we all do this. We all sometimes.
Oh, wait, did I introduce the show? Hold on.
Probably not.
Welcome.
We jumped right into weather and to onions.
This is McKinnon Hansen, host of Wired Wednesday. In studio today, we have Jesse Paul from the Larkin Group at KW Realty and Chantry Abbott with Guild Mortgage. And I love the way that we've taken this show because we're really turning it into a thinking show and a life session of where we can do better. And so with the pressure cooking example, Jesse, where are we at today?
Well, my pressure's pretty damn good. Like I woke up so relieved. Probably because I got an hour bike riding yesterday.
Nice.
And really just listened to music, just decompressed and really contemplated all the different things going on in my life and how I could show up better. And when I say better, it's not that I'm constantly just go, gotta do more. No, it's not that. How do I show up happier? And one thing that I think a lot of us do is, and I'm just going to use myself in an argument with my wife for a good example.
Okay.
I will automatically assume negative intent, maybe over a comment in the show, instead of absolute positive intent, going, wow, I wonder what she really meant by that. That could be really cool. Right? And how that plays out in business, for instance, let's say I'm a seller and I get this just ridiculous lowball offer. And I instantly just get pissed or dig my heels in. I'm not giving my house away. Well, what would happen if I actually stopped and said, man, this must be a guy that has to try to get a good deal. Because some people just have to. They can't sleep if they don't try.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that they're not a phenomenal buyer.
Agreed.
If they're dealt with like a good buyer.
Or approached differently. Maybe they're coming.
If they're approached like they are a good buyer, and hey, how can we actually make this a win for you and a win for me?
Yeah.
So with the arguments and with the different things and coming from a place of abundance versus scarcity, right?
Or just thinking, absolutely, I'm not doing that. Taking a minute and going, okay, but what could I do? What could I bring to the table that possibly could get this buyer, if they've even got their backup, right? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But just to get them to come with a little bit more grace as well.
And that brings up a really good point too, because in our spousal relationships or in our friendships and different things, we hear comments and different things and we take them a completely wrong way.
Most of the time. I can't tell you all. I would dare say 98% of the arguments that I've had in my life, I have or they have misunderstood the meaning of a comment or a text or an action or something.
Yeah, I've been to some conferences and they'll ask, are you open-minded? And almost everybody in the room will raise their hand because everybody wants to be viewed as open-minded.
But if we really start looking at that.
But sometimes I need to set myself back. Why am I being open-minded about this situation?
Mhm. Yeah, and my question to everybody is, just by asking that question and taking the time to go, wait a minute, if I changed what the meaning that I'm putting on this, would it make a difference?
Yeah.
5 out of 10 times, that's as far as we need to go, because it relieves the pressure of the, of the fighting stance. And I put my fist down, and now all of a sudden, maybe I can see something a little bit different, or I can see something from your perspective.
This reminds me of the quote that there's the coaching, the bold coaching that happens at Keller Williams.
Yeah.
So the Keller Williams has a great coaching program called Bold, and it just teaches you a lot of really great stuff about open-mindedness and things. And the quote that I always remembered from it is, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
That's exactly right. And how if applied to every area of my life, especially when I'm feeling my defenses coming up, right? Could it make such a huge difference in the outcomes that are the most important in my life, in my marriage, in my friendships? And because we do real estate on, right? Also, in real estate is the one thing that we do. It's the one thing that we sell that we gain the most financial gain on. Right? It's just huge.
Which increases the emotional.
Or I can lose the most on because I became too emotional. And I would argue that getting my defenses up, or digging in my heels, or assuming something about a buyer or a seller is actually costing me in the long run.
Yeah.
Well,
At least in my experience, it has with all of my clients that I watch do that. Like it always costs them many times what could have been a really good deal for them and the other party.
Well, I think that that's where it starts out, is the initial comment and then the assumption, right? It's the fight or flight. It's the scarcity. It's the what is actually happening because I'm only seeing it this way. And we have to figure out how to remove ourselves just for a split second almost, because it can flip the switch that quickly.
Yeah, right. And you could actually be a good example of this, and not that you're negative or scarcity mindset, but you ask a ton of questions. You immediately start breaking something apart to see if it's broken or if it needs to be fixed. And and that can have very high price tags if done in the wrong moment or with the wrong tone.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Where it's completely from wanting to make sure that it's the best of the best of the best without care, it can get in your way.
Absolutely.
Right?
And people, what I've also found in my, adult life, people aren't used to being questioned because they feel like it's an interrogation. And for me, it's out of pure, like, I want to make sure that I'm getting the best thing for them. Mm-hmm. And so my brain is already clicking to all of the other series that, okay, if this is yes, no, then this leads to the next question. This is yes, no. And it's the whole analytical brain of mine, but the questions lead to answers, which lead to a conclusion.
Right. So, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you could actually ask the very same question, but done in the right speed, the right tone, the right cadence. It completely changes the whole meaning.
Well, there's this book out there, and you guys are gonna have to help me, but it gives you like 5 lines of accentuating different words in that same 5 lines. And I can't remember what it is, but it's like he found his wife, murdered or something. Did he find his wife murdered was
Yeah, the cadence, like,
Yeah.
how am I asking the question?
how am I asking the question? And I can't remember what it was, but it in each line, depending on which word was accentuated or the cadence, it put an entirely new meaning, you know. So when we're with our spouses, when we're with our partners, when we're with our clients or friends or buyers or sellers, or you know, with Chantry Abbott with Guild Mortgage, like when you're sitting down for new home buyers or people who have bought third or fourth homes, you know, and are pretty used to this, used to the process, is the cadence different? Does it sound differently? How are we approaching those situations where we should be reevaluating it?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think when I just think about that, I think most first-time home buyers are just excited for us to share advice and knowledge and information, and maybe even open their eyes to other thought processes.
Mhm.
I think it's common that somebody that's done this 3 or 4 times, they can potentially be offended
Right.
by us giving them too much. Like they almost want to be like, no, we know what we're doing. When really we're just trying to help them have a different mindset and
Yeah,
be
and
open-minded.
especially in a world where there's a common belief that if I just Google it, I'll know it just as well as you.
Yeah.
And we've found, McKinnon, that Google is only as good as your specific question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like if you're not careful, you can get an answer that will potentially harm you.
Oh yeah. I think it's extremely dangerous in a lot of cases in our
Right.
industries.
Well, and for insurance specifically, do I need flood insurance?
Right.
Right? Like, yes or no.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But where am I? Am
One-
I in a flood zone? Am I in a natural flood zone?
One thing that came up in our little real estate group is, I can't even remember the question, but it was something around the guidelines for the first time homebuyer program. And if you Google that, you could find 15 different answers because
Right.
there's how many different first time homebuyer programs are there?
Yeah. Lots.
Right?
So many.
Yeah. I
One,
don't even know the
if
amount.
you go with that one, will completely disqualify you from this one, or this one will cost you more money, or this one you can't buy at all. And so without really asking the very specific question that you want to know, we could almost be dangerous.
Well, and like going into Chantry, like if they're buying their third or fourth home or investment properties, but programs have changed in the 18-month difference
Or the
over
process.
or the process
The market.
or the
market,
market
what's going on.
laws change
Rules.
frequently.
100%.
You know, get them getting offended when you're just trying to come from a place of, I just want the best thing for you.
Right.
But if we don't start with those, you know, hey, the industry's changed just a little bit since your last purchase.
Yeah.
Let's review this process. Because, you know, in their mind, Google works just as effectively, and them doing it online, you know, they think that they're getting the best something out there when there may be 3 other programs that would be better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One thing that you guys both know a little bit about is Southern Utah investors may not get, you know, their cash flow right? But that doesn't mean it's not a good time to buy anywhere else in the country.
That's true. Well, and quite frankly, it doesn't mean that it's not a good time to buy in Southern Utah. It's just harder to make it work in Southern Utah.
Yeah, it depends on what your goals are.
Right. But like having those conversations of, well, I only want to buy in here and
Yeah.
if you open their mind to, well, this may cash flow better, or this program in this something area may be a better fit for your end goals.
So I'm a great example. I'm actually not buying real estate for cash flow. I wanted to make sure it breaks even and maybe makes a little bit, but I'm buying for long-term growth and tax deduction. Right. It's a tax plan and a long-term retirement plan for me.
Which is a totally different.
I don't really care if it cash flows $1,000 a month or $500. If it'll pay for itself, I'm good.
Which is, you know, which goes back to the original, you know, how do we get started? You know, and this is really where we shift our framework or our mindset regarding, you know, this interaction or that interaction is finding a place of commonality is asking the right question. What are your goals in this and how can I help you? Right. And when we're with our spouses or with our friends, it's where do I need to shift my thinking, or where can I just take a step back and breathe and understand where they came from it, with that comment, with a comment. It's really incredible how just breathing into a fight or flight comment or question can really help us be a better person.
It's so true, because as soon as we ask the question, the pressure is relieved. Most people know I was a smoker for 30 years. When I quit smoking, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But what I realized is, so when I had a craving and it was so intense that I wanted to just rip my hair out if I had any.
I'm gonna say, well done, you've got a good job done.
No hair.
If I would actually just pick up the phone and say, man, I really want that. I do, but I don't. That literally, that pressure that I was feeling would drop by, I'm going to say 75%.
Wow.
It was so big. But if I would hide it and be ashamed because I wanted it and just not talk about it, it would actually get bigger.
See, the thing I'm worried about you though, with pressure, Jesse, is you're gonna spill all over the kitchen.
It's true. I
So
might. So I'll let you know how the next, because now that I've thought it, I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I'll let you know how that goes. And this is no joke. This pressure cooker is actually older than McKinnon. I think it's 40 years old.
Oh, yeah.
It's your mom's first, and I think it came from your grandma.
probably my
So
grandma
50 years old, probably.
Oh,
It is an
man.
original OG. It's an OG, original gangster pressure cooker.
I'm 0 for 1 on pressure. I've only tried using one once, and I had the same story as you. I haven't gone back to it yet.
Well, I kept going. I mean, cleaned up the mess and said, no, I'm never going to do that again.
And this is why I like my Instapot. It's a
Uh,
little
yeah,
less
it's a lot
volatile.
easier. It's a lot easier with Instapot and a lot quicker too. It's like 2 hours, you're done.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for coming on today and really just kind of running through how we can show up better in our lives if we just take a moment to breathe.
And ask, is this really true?
Yes, what is the actual intention behind this? This has been Wired Wednesday with McKinnon Hansen, your local Farm Bureau financial agent at 435-592-2021, and serving your real estate needs at gocedarcity.com with the Larkin Group at Keller Williams.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.